kuangana nanyi hivi leo na kuhutubia kongamano hili kuu kuhusu masuala muhimu kwetu vijana na Afrika. Your Excellency, I hope I did justice to Kiswahili, which I love very much. Thank you, Excellencies, for convening a social issue that is at the heart of the realities and challenges that we face as African youth, especially the most vulnerable in our communities, refugees and migrants. This high-level conference and what has gone into making it a success shows that our hearts are in the right place. I wish to also commend His Excellency the President of Kenya, whose government has passed into law policies that deal with some of the root causes leading to violent extremism, including the anti-hate speech laws, the Nyamba Kumi Initiative for Community Vigilance, and also the establishment of National Counter-Terrorism Center under the leadership of Ambassador Martin Kimani. The government of Kenya has additionally ensured that issues of peace and security are at the core of the national youth policy, which is almost being finalized. I also look forward to the National Youth Index, which will help track youth development in all counties in the country and ensure a more holistic and meaningful engagement, even as the government mobilizes youth to be key actors in actualizing the Big Four agenda. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is important to acknowledge that the tendency toward violent extremism does not emerge from a vacuum. The socio-economic and political marginalization and disaffection of youth on the continent and around the world are catalysts for joining violent extremism. In 2013, my cousin was radicalized by Daesh at the age of 22, and he decided to go fight in Syria. At the time, he just graduated from university. He actually had an engineering degree. It was a tough experience to go through in the family and the community, which made me think, why youth like my cousin choose this path, while I have chosen nonviolent activism, and we both grew up with the same education and the same background. An accurate understanding of the factors leading to radicalization is essential in order to have an African and global effective response to it. We need to prevent radicalization in the first place and address violent social and political identities. First and foremost, this is a question of narrative. Unfortunately, when we talk about African youth, or when the African youth get the world leaders' attention, they're spoken about as perpetrators of violence, as a dangerous class, as a number of unemployed, as migrants dying in the Mediterranean, as a youth bulge. But they are not spoken about as the generation of peace builders, of change makers, that actually change the course of history, that revolutionize technology, that inspire new ways of activism and citizen engagement. African youth, especially young women, do not resign themselves to the hardships of their situations, but they are using their agency, creativity to build the Africa we want. Young people like Fatma, founder of Horn of African Development Initiative, who has done amazing work in using sports for peace, or Karim of Footprints for Change, working with youth on civic engagement, peace building, and leadership development, and Christian, I think he's one of the participants here, who has done significant work in his home country, Cameroon. And these are just few examples to note as badass agents of change. And many more have been organizing in various grassroots peace networks. Narratives become a place of belonging and identity to many of our young people. So there is a danger of the victimization, disempowering narrative that overlooks youth agency, and it's used by violent groups to recruit. Many young people have internalized the idea they are marginalized, they have no voice, and now perceived to be heroic when they join the extremist groups. Why don't we make them heroic without joining violence to be that hero? I think our definition of demographic dividend should be about youth as the human capital, talent, energy, creativity, the driving force of our continent. We must change the narrative about African youth. Let us see African youth as a collective, positive actor amongst the most informed, the most resilient, the most educated generation Africa has ever seen. And if you don't disagree, Excellency, the coolest generation. Then there is the question of waithood, waiting for adulthood. We have a generation trapped in the state of waiting because they are in constant negotiation to find their political and financial freedom. It's about the livelihoods of our young people who are barely surviving, who do not understand the contradictions of our times. To be the most youthful population, 60% under 30, and yet the most insecure and marginalized. Do not understand why governments extend retirement age while a large part of our population are young. When individuals are deprived of their political, socio-economic rights, they're more likely to be awarded and rewarded when they join these violent groups. This is also very linked to the question of dignity and equality. While unemployment is often emblematic of systemic sources of marginalization, it is not the status of unemployment itself that leads to youth radicalization. It is the perception of injustice. Unemployment needs to be addressed more seriously on the continent, but jobs alone do not address deep-seated awareness and experience of injustice. When injustice is perceived, young people look at these violent groups as legitimate fighters, not as perpetrators of violence. Our fight against violent extremism must begin with dismantling and ending inequality in achieving our sustainable development goals in Agenda 2063. We must invest in entrepreneurial spirit, not just entrepreneurship for creating jobs, but in the space of innovation. The future of work needs to be about dignity. Young people don't want just jobs, they want jobs with dignity. So the peace, security, and development nexus is crucial in addressing violent extremism, which has to be bottom-up approach, with grassroots focus, with a commitment to inclusion and centering development around people most marginalized by poverty and injustice. We need a word that is collaborative, that is emotionally intelligent, centered around human development and empowerment by prioritizing basic provisions for citizens and strengthening communities, which will become the biggest defense against violent extremism. We must work with youth-led grassroots community, civil society organizations doing CBE work. This issue requires partnership across sectors and organization sizes. It requires building trust and solid bridges with the most affected communities. Our topic today is also a question of governance that should deliver the health, the education, the services that our citizens deserve. Because where there is an absence of these services, violent groups become economic and social actors. It is also very legitimate to ask for greater affirmative action towards youth representation in mainstream government and appointments. This was the secret of the independence generation. Our key leaders joined governments when they were in their youth and had a chance to learn the ropes and to be mentored. So this is an intergenerational collaboration. It is time for young people to lead. Our leaders engage the youth and listen to their grievances. Defining youth by age, particularly, is problematic. It's deliberately excluding them. It asserts that youth are of tomorrow, not today, denying them a participation in governance. We need to address the political demands of African youth across the continent who are peacefully rising up for their rights. Our governments need to develop holistic social and policy making and reform, and taking decisions that affect their lives. We also need to promote Pan-African transnational identity and global citizenship. When youth think Pan-African and global, it offers them a place of belonging. It allows a new imagination of the individual and the community. That's why we have to promote the Africa we want as borderless, transnational, multilingual, multicultural community. And I believe that our Pan-African policies of the African Union will create the dynamism needed through the African Continental Free Trade Area, intra-trade, single market, e-governance, open borders, Pan-African universities, Youth for Peace and Mediators programs, and other flagship projects of Agenda 2063. The only way to fight violence and terrorism in our continent is to unite our youth around the Pan-African vision, the space of exchange, knowledge, and solidarity. And as the Youth Envoy of the chairperson of the African Union Commission, I am committed to this mission. Our education should instill pride and empower the African child in their African identity and knowledge being produced on the continent. And critical thinking has to remain a necessary skill going forward, because without it, one will not be able to challenge the false ideologies that are at the heart of this problem. And this is the time that we have to get this right and pay attention to the fact that youth are facing unprecedented levels of anxiety and depression from our challenging times. Adding more to that by putting burden on the millennials to save the world and to fix all the problems. Be the leaders, be the entrepreneurs, be this, be that. I mean, just let the youth be whatever they want to be. And to exist and to be empowered. They will come up with the solutions and they will contribute positively to the society. Excellencies, African and global leaders, we should not let fear drive our decisions around the world. But more than ever, we need a leadership of courage that is not just responsive, but empowering. Projecting into the public imagination a rhetoric of fear to justify the treatment of youth as potential terror suspect is not the solution. Translating this perception of fear into collective punishment of African youth through discriminatory policies is not the solution, and can even add to their grievances and further radicalize disaffected youth. The solution is intergenerational cooperation and sustainable partnerships with communities and young people. This is not the time for exclusion and marginalization, and it's not the time for polarization. This is the time for intergenerational co-leadership, honest governance, young peace builders making the headlines and the news. In 2013, my cousin was de-radicalized through our family and community support and our local government engagement. He started a gym project in our village because he wanted to make a difference and inspire the unemployed youth in his community to believe in themselves, to serve in their community. Excellencies, the youth are calling for attention to their being and becoming. To build their trust in institutions, we need to reframe the radicalization debate so they can be perceived as part of the solution, not the problem. We need to articulate a story of hope, and I can't find words better than the Tunisian poet Chebbi, who expresses in his poem The Will of Life this hope. And sorry, I'm going to say a few words in Arabic. في هذه الأوقات الصعبة نحتاج إلى التعبير عن قصة أمل شبابنا، ولا يمكنني أن أجد أفضل من كلمات الشاعر التونسي أبو القاسم الشابي الذي يعبر في قصيدته إرادة الحياة عن هذا الأمل، عن الحرية، عن الرغبة في العيش والمساهمة في المجتمع، ويقول: إذا الشعب يوما أراد الحياة فلا بد أن يستجيب القدر، ولا بد لليل أن ينجلي، ولا بد للقيد أن ينكسر. شكرا. أسنتي سامي.
Your Excellency, Mr. Musa Faki Mohammed, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Your Excellencies, Ministers, Commissioners, Special Envoys, Ambassadors, High Commissioners and other senior officials, I think after that wonderful and very powerful statement by Aya, we all in this room need to move with speed before we all lose our joy.